Hello and welcome to The Real Deal. We're here at the Clapham Picturehouse in London, bringing you the latest news, reviews and so much more to do with the world of film.
3 massive films for you this week, an Oscar Isaac's double bill with The Most Violent Year and Ex Machina, and Mark Wahlberg stars in The Gambler. But before we find out more, let's take a look.
Over the next few days, you're going to be the human component in the Turing test. One day the AIs are going to look back on us the same way we look at fossils.
Hello.
How do you feel about her?
Oh man, she's amazing.
You're impressed?
Yes.
Do you want to be my friend?
Of course.
So some fabulous films to take a look at this week, and we'll be starting with Ex Machina.
Now, Oscar Isaac has had a very busy year so far with lots of films coming out, but he has taken time out of his busy schedule to join us here at the Clapham Picturehouse. We are very privileged. Oscar, how you doing?
Hey.
Of course we're joking, all right? Calm down, everybody. It is, of course, lovely film expert Cassam Looch.
AKA Oscar's doppelganger. Not a bad shout.
Thanks, I'll take that. Yeah, I'm pleased with that one.
Good stuff. Now, Ex Machina, interesting title, interesting film?
A very interesting film. Yeah, it's a dark sci-fi film starring Oscar Isaac, as you say, Domhnall Gleeson and Alicia Vikander.
Oh, the superstar on the rise is Alicia Vikander. It's also directed by Alex Garland, who we know from lots of Danny Boyle films, and obviously The Beach, which was part of my childhood, I have to say. So tell us what's good about this film.
So Oscar Isaac plays this internet billionaire, and he decides to create an AI, which is going to be his latest product on the market. And to do this, he's just come up with a series of tests, and it's Domhnall Gleeson's job to decide whether the AI is convincing as a human or whether it's still in the early development stage.
And can I ask you as well, now with all these kind of films about artificial intelligence, I mean AI, iRobot, stuff like that, there's always a sort of philosophical subtext. Is that the case again?
Yeah, there's a really big philosophical question being asked here. You know, just because you can do something, should you do it? Which is, you know, the ultimate question, I guess. God complex and things like that come into it, and I think that kind of explains the Latin base of the title as well. So yeah, that essentially is what the film is.
And from what I've seen from the trailer, the special effects look incredible in this.
Yeah, I mean, they are amazing. Alicia Vikander, essentially, you just see her face and it's superimplanted onto this robot. But you can't see the joins at all. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
And also, well, I mean, it looks very cold and very stark from what I've seen in the clips. Does that add to it? Is it quite an atmospheric film?
It is. For the most part, you just see the 3 of them. And so it's this relationship between the 3 characters on screen. And to create that and to keep that going, they've created this amazing sort of look, which is, you know, very clinical, very cold. And it ties in with what the film's about as well. So,
but it feels really much like an Alex Garland film in a way. There's a lot of stuff about that. Now, it sounds amazing, but is there anything that just isn't that great about this film?
A lot of people have complained, that I've spoken to subsequently, have said that the film doesn't give comeuppance to some of the characters who are evil in the film or who have some evil tendencies. I won't spoil who they are, but as the film develops, you see some of the ulterior motives for some of the characters, and it doesn't really give a satisfying comeuppance to them in its conclusion.
Also, it's a 3-hander as well, this film. So with that, is the pace quite slow? Do we lose a lot of the I don't know, the vigorousness of it?
Yeah, I mean, I've called it a sci-fi film, but it's not a Blade Runner. You know, there aren't laser beams shooting off all over the place. There is none of that. It is very much, it's quite a talky film as well, actually. You could take the sci-fi element out of it and still come up with a drama that you could put on stage somewhere.
Also, just quickly going back to what you said about characters not getting their comeuppance, this was a problem that a lot of people had with a very different film, Wolf of Wall Street. Yeah. But of course, in real life, bad people don't always face justice. Did you find it a problem?
No, I didn't personally actually have a problem with it. I thought the story was going in a very different kind of direction, and Alex Garland, he comes up with a different sort of conclusion whereby the comeuppance is served in a very different format, I thought. It's a very subtle film, so you're not going to go in and get the big action set pieces that you might expect. You mentioned iRobot, which I think is a great film, but there are no big set pieces of that ilk in this film.
Brilliant. Well, listen, we've heard some really good stuff about it. We've heard some stuff to maybe watch out for and be a little bit careful about. What's the real deal on Ex Machina?
So The Real Deal is, it's a dark, sophisticated and clever sci-fi film. Oscar Isaac stars fantastically well in it, and I'd give it 4 out of 5.
Fantastic.
Sounds good, doesn't
Sounds
it?
really good. Yeah, amazing. Okay, well, from Ex Machina through to The Gambler with Mark Wahlberg. Before we go into that with Cassam once again, let's take a look at a clip.
If you take away nothing else from my class, let it be this. If you don't have the magic, don't bother.
I've seen you be $500,000 up.
I've been up $2.5 million.
If I give you this money and you don't pay me back, I will kill your entire bloodline.
You have to go.
Because I've seen you in your other life?
I'm gonna kill that girl. Do you understand the gravity of your situation?
I know what I have to do.
Mark Wahlberg.
So that's a clip from The Gambler, and I know next to nothing about this film, apart from the fact that it's got Mark Wahlberg on the poster in a pair of shades, looking dishevelled in a crumpled blue suit. Cassam, what's it about?
Well, surprisingly, it's about a gambler played by Mark Wahlberg, as you said. It's a remake of a James Caan film, and he plays this compulsive gambler who basically has risked everything, and he's got 7 days to pay it back, and the film follows him over the course of 7 days.
Now, something that I love about Mark Wahlberg is the different sort of films that he takes on. I loved him in Pain and Gain, Transformers, meh. But this looks a bit more serious. Am I right or wrong in thinking that it's a serious film?
It is a serious film, and I think to kind of emphasise that, he's lost a lot of weight as well. So he's gone from the big muscle man that you see in Pain and Gain to this really skinny man who is on the edge, constantly kind of using one pot of money to pay off another pot of money, and that is what the film is about. He's a compulsive gambler. He's got a very short amount of time left to pay these sums of money back, and that's where he's left.
Now, a lot of people associate Mark Wahlberg, don't they, with the big action stuff. I mean, with Transformers mainly at the moment, but he's quite a subtle, versatile actor. You think of stuff like The Departed. What's he doing in this?
Well, what he does is he manages to convince you that he has an addiction, which is, it's a very clever way of playing the film, I think. It reminded me of Shame in quite a few sequences.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, in terms of the addiction and in terms of the way it portrays it. There's a great opening sequence, it's 15 minutes long, of him walking into a casino. And even when he's up, he still can't resist putting money on, and it really drives home that kind of the frailty and the addiction that he's got.
Yeah. Now, it's interesting that you said Shame, because automatically I thought, oh, wouldn't the Fass have been a better choice for this role?
The Fass would have been a natural choice, I think, but like you say, you kind of forget the flexibility and the kind of acting talent that Mark Wahlberg has from some of his earlier films, and just because he's done action films recently doesn't mean that he can't go back.
Well, he has a great everyman quality as well, doesn't he? So, I mean, obviously, you like the performance, that kind of thing. Mark's very good in it, but anything that you didn't like particularly?
Well, when it sticks to the addiction and the gambling, I think the film's very strong. When it tries to bring in the love interest, which you always, you can't kind of force that into every single film, but they always do. Played by Brie Larson, who's a great actress, but it just doesn't sit right. He's a university student, he's a university teacher, she's one of his students, and it kind of feels very forced and unnecessary.
A film about destructive addiction doesn't need romantic entanglements.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. It is doing well on its own in terms of portraying what the film's about. Directed by Rupert Wyatt as well, British director who made Rise of the Planet of the Apes last, which I thought was a fantastic film.
Yeah, brilliant. Now, there was an earlier time when actually there was a little bit of, well, not Oscar buzz, but awards buzz about this. Do you think it's been shortchanged? We haven't really heard anything.
I think it's a fair reflection on where the film is, that it had some initial buzz and there's people talking about it, but it's kind of faded away. The film itself isn't strong as a whole. Wahlberg's performance is very good, but not enough, I think, to kind of get the big awards.
Also, such a strong year for male leads as well. Look at Eddie Redmayne, Benedict Cumberbatch, Michael Keaton. I mean, it was inevitable that this might fall by the wayside.
Yeah, it's the big loser, I think. Surprisingly enough, The Gambler is the big loser.
And so we've heard a little bit good, a little bit bad about this. What's the real deal?
Real Deal is, it's a remake of a film, updated with some modern conveniences in there, which makes it very watchable, but it's just not clever enough to garner much more praise than that. I give it 3 out of 5. 3 out of 5, fair enough, fair enough. Well, there we go. That is The Gambler, reviewed 3 out of 5, so it's still a recommendation from us, but coming up next we see Jessica Chastain taking on A Most Violent Year. Here's a clip.
What am I supposed to do with this?
Use it. gonna like what'll happen once I get involved.
So there's a clip from A Most Violent Year starring Jessica Chastain and that man again, Oscar Isaac.
You are so busy.
Yeah, you.
Don't know how I fit it all in.
And you still have time to come here and chat to us as well. So Cassam, A Most Violent Year, tell us about it.
Most Violent Year, set in 1981 New York, which was the most violent year in American history, apparently.
Okay.
And Oscar Isaac plays this fuel supplier who is desperate to get out his product, but do it in the right way, so he has a very moral stance. And Jessica Chastain plays his wife, who comes from a rougher background, a kind of mob background, and she's willing to use more violent techniques to get the product out
That's
there.
interesting to see the female push the violence a little bit more.
Yeah, he is very kind of, like I say, moralistic, and he doesn't want to do anything kind of by the by, but she says, you know, we can take a few shortcuts, and there's a great kind of tension between the two of them and then the exterior characters as well.
And with that sort of difference in the role that she portrays, I mean, she's been up for some awards,
Absolutely,
you know, for that, and that well-deserved?
Yeah, definitely well-deserved. I mean, it's not a bombastic kind of showy role. She doesn't go around shouting what she wants to do. It's kind of like a Lady Macbeth kind of thing I got from her, yeah.
Yeah, we like that.
There we go, yeah. So she's kind of there in the background, and she's kind of like a malevolent force pushing him in certain directions, and he's very steadfast in kind of saying what I want to do it my way.
Intriguing.
I love mob movies as well, and when we think about kind of period films with mafia associations as well, you think of stuff like Goodfellas and Donnie Brasco as well specifically. Does it hold up to films like that?
It does, but don't go in expecting kind of guns and violence and, you know, very overwrought scenes of mobsters shouting at one another. It avoids that, and very cleverly, I thought. What it does is it kind of drives home the human drama, and especially just the way these two characters, they both want the same thing, but they're approaching it from very different directions. And it's a great kind of character study and a relationship study as well.
Yin and yang kind of thing as well, good versus evil for the same ends.
Absolutely, and they're both fantastic in it. You know, you couldn't think of a better pairing.
It sounds like you really liked it. Is there anything you didn't like about this?
The pacing is a bit off. I think it has a very nice build-up throughout the whole film, and then there's one sequence towards the end where you think, are they rushing it just to get to a conclusion? But no, overall, I loved it.
Fantastic.
Okay, well then give us the real deal and the lowdown on why these guys should go and watch it.
No, the real deal is that if you want to see some great performances and a very clever modern take on a mob genre that has kind of got stilted very recently, then you should watch this film.
And how many stars are you going to give it?
4 out of 5.
Excellent.
Fantastic.
Brilliant. Cassam, thanks so much. So that's it for The Real Deal. There's obviously loads of great movies coming out for you guys to watch this weekend, so make sure you don't miss it.
And once you've seen them, let us know what you think. And if you want to have a chinwag of us in general, I suppose, make sure you check out @The Real Film Show on Twitter. And as always, for all the latest, greatest film content, make sure you jump on The Real Deal on film.com.
Thanks for watching.
See ya.